Hello, and welcome to our deep dive. We are so happy to have you here with us today.
Yes, welcome. It is great to be here.
So today, we are going to explore a situation that is, well, it's incredibly common, but it is also universally terrifying.
Terrifying is definitely the right word for it.
It really is. It happens to people all over the world every single day. I want you to picture yourself in a new environment.
Okay, setting the scene.
Right. Maybe you are sitting in a circle on your first day of a new job. Or maybe you are at social gathering, just holding a cup of coffee.
Just minding your own business.
Exactly, minding your own business. And then someone turns to you, they make eye contact, and they ask you 5 simple words.
Oh, I know what words you mean.
Tell me about yourself.
Yes, those 5 words, they can be completely paralyzing.
They really can. Why is that? Why do we panic?
It is actually fascinating. It is a question that seems harmless, but it causes this massive physical reaction. When people hear, "Tell me about yourself," especially when they are speaking a second language, they experience what psychologists call the freeze response.
The freeze response, like a deer in the headlights.
Exactly like that. Your mind just goes completely blank. I mean, you have lived your entire life, right? You know everything about yourself.
You are the world expert on you.
You are. But in that exact moment,
Yeah.
you cannot think of a single thing to say.
It is so true. And I want to tell you, the listener, right now, if this happens to you, it is a completely normal reaction.
Completely normal.
But it feels awful. You start wondering, what does this person actually want to know?
Right. Are they asking about your job?
Should you talk about your professional background? Or do they want to know where you grew up?
Or your hobbies? Do they care about your hobbies?
There is just too much information. You cannot filter through all of it in 3 seconds.
It is information overload.
Which brings us to our focus for today's deep dive. We have a fantastic set of notes and transcripts to guide us.
Yes, we do.
These come from a program called the Mr. English channel.
It is a great resource.
It really is. It is hosted by 2 highly experienced teachers named Mark and Sarah, and these sources are designed specifically for you, the English learner.
Because Mark and Sarah, they want to solve this exact problem.
Yeah.
Their mission is to help you master the art of the personal introduction.
And what I love about their approach is that they recognize the real issue. The fear, it doesn't come from a lack of vocabulary.
No, it doesn't. You already know the words.
Right. The fear comes from a lack of structure.
Exactly. When a question is completely open-ended like that, it feels like you are standing in the middle of a desert with no directions.
A desert with no directions. That is a perfect way to describe it. So let's unpack this concept because it is the key to the entire deep dive today. Mark and Sarah say that to overcome this fear, you need to build a map.
A map. I love this idea.
Me too. Explain how the map works.
Well, instead of just handing someone a random, disorganized list of facts about your life, which is what we usually do when we panic, you create a clear, guided path.
A path for the conversation.
Precisely. A map gives you boundaries. When you know exactly what stops you're going to make on your conversational journey, your brain can finally just relax.
Because you don't have to worry about what to say next.
Right. And if you're not worrying about what to say next, you can focus on how you say it.
Yeah.
You can focus on actually connecting with the person standing in front of you.
That makes total sense. So today we are going to look at the specific stops that Mark and Sarah put on their map.
We're going to build it together.
We are. And we are going to take things nice and slow, step by step. We want to give you, our listener, the practical tools you need to introduce yourself with confidence.
It is a safe space today. Open-ended questions are overwhelming, but we're going to break it down into very simple pieces.
Okay, let's start at the very beginning of the map, the first impression.
The most important part.
This is where you establish your identity and your origins. So naturally, the very first thing you have to do is tell the other person your name.
Right.
Mark and Sarah highlight 2 main ways to do this in English. The first one is very casual and very common. Just, hi, I'm...
Like, hi, I'm Maria.
Exactly. And the second way is just a little bit more formal. My name is...
My name is Maria.
Right. Are both of those okay to use?
Oh, absolutely. Both are perfectly correct. Native English speakers use them interchangeably all the time.
Okay, good to know.
But there is something really interesting in this part of the lesson. It is a strategy that Mark uses. We could call it the nickname trick.
Yes. The nickname trick. This really stood out to me when I was reading the source material. It is more than just stating a fact. It is actually a really clever communication strategy.
It really is.
Can you break down how Mark uses this trick in the text?
Of course. So in the lesson, Mark explains that his formal legal name is Marcus.
Okay.
But he doesn't really like being called Marcus. He prefers his shorter name, Mark.
Makes sense.
So when he introduces himself, he uses a very specific sentence. He says, "My full name is Marcus, but please call me Mark."
Please call me Mark. It sounds so simple.
It is simple.
But why is that specific phrase so effective when you meet someone new?
It is effective because it removes social friction.
Social friction? Tell me more about that.
Well, think about when you meet a stranger. Both people are usually a little bit nervous, right?
Definitely.
You don't know each other. You don't want to make a mistake. By saying, "Please call me," you are giving the other person very clear instructions on how to talk to you. You are making their life easier.
You're taking away the guesswork.
Exactly. But it is more than just an instruction. It is an invitation.
An invitation to be friendly.
Yes, in many English-speaking cultures, using a nickname or a shortened name is a strong sign of friendliness. By offering that shorter name right away, you are basically saying, "Hey, we can skip the formal stuff. I want us to be friends."
It builds a warm connection instantly.
In just one sentence.
I love that. But I do have a question about this trick.
Sure, go ahead.
What if our listener has a name that they do not shorten?
Right.
Like, what if their name is just one syllable? Or maybe they just love their full name and don't want a nickname. How do they create that same warmth without the nickname trick?
That is a very fair point. If you don't use a nickname, you can still be warm, of course. Your tone of voice matters a lot. A big smile goes a long way.
Sure.
But you can also use a variation of this trick to help with pronunciation.
Oh, that is a great idea.
Because pronunciation is a really common worry for international speakers, right?
Yeah.
You want people to say your name correctly?
Yes, it can be awkward if they get it wrong.
So you can give an instruction that helps them. You might say something like, "My name is Katerina, and it rhymes with ballerina."
Rhymes with ballerina. That is so helpful.
Or you could say, "My name is Javier." The J sounds like an H in English.
That is fantastic. You are still giving them an instruction, but it shows you are being considerate of their experience.
Exactly. You are helping them succeed in the conversation.
Okay, so step 1 is done. You have successfully established your name.
Check.
Now, once you do that, the next natural question almost everyone asks is, where are you from?
Yes. And this is a moment where many English learners fall into a trap. They miss a huge opportunity.
How so? What is the trap?
The trap is the one-word answer. If someone asks, "Where are you from?" the absolute easiest way to answer is with one word: Spain.
Or Brazil.
Or Japan.
Right. It answers the question perfectly.
Grammatically, it is flawless.
Yeah.
But conversationally, it is a dead end. It stops the interaction entirely.
Because then the other person just says, "Oh, nice."
Exactly. And then silence. The other person now has to work really hard to think of a brand new question to keep the talk going.
You are forcing them to do all the heavy lifting.
Right. But Mark and Sarah teach us a better way. They teach us to use this question to tell a very brief origin story.
An origin story, like a superhero.
A little bit, yeah. Mark uses his own life as the example here. He tells us that he was born in a very small village in the north of England.
Okay.
But then, when he was 10 years old, his family moved to the city of Brighton.
So he has 2 locations in his history.
Yes. And pay attention to the exact sentence structure he uses to share this. He says, "I'm originally from the north, but I live in Brighton now."
Let me repeat that for the listener so we can really look at the mechanics. I am originally from location A, but I live in location B now.
That is the formula.
And the magic word there is originally.
Yes.
By just adding the word originally, it completely changes the feeling of the sentence. It adds depth.
What do you mean?
Well, you are no longer just pointing to a dot on a map. You are showing a timeline. You are telling the listener that your life involves movement and change and history.
That is a great observation. From a communications psychology standpoint, we call this providing doorways.
Doorways. I like that image.
Think of it like this. When you give a one-word answer like Japan, you're giving the listener exactly one doorway to walk through. They can only ask you about Japan. But when you say, "I am originally from a small village, but I live in Brighton now," you just opened multiple doorways.
Because they can ask about the village?
Yes. Or they can ask about Brighton. Or they can ask the most interesting question: why did you move?
You are making it incredibly easy for them to keep talking to you.
Exactly. You are being a good conversational partner.
I see how powerful that is. But let's look at another scenario for our listener.
Okay, lay it on me.
What if a listener has lived in the exact same city their entire life? They were born in Tokyo, and they still live in Tokyo. They cannot use the formula, I am originally from X, but I live in Y.
Right, because X and Y are the same place.
Exactly. So how do they add that same flavor to their introduction? How do they open doorways?
That is a really practical question. If you have always lived in one place, you just pivot. Instead of changing the geography, you pivot to time or to emotion.
Give me an example of that.
So instead of talking about a move, you add a detail about your relationship with the city.
Yeah.
You could say, I am from Madrid, I have lived there my whole life, and I still think it has the best food in the world.
Oh, that is good.
Or you might say, I am from Seoul. I grew up there, but I still love exploring the new cafes in the city.
I see what you did there. You are still providing doorways. Now I can ask you about Madrid's food or about coffee shops in Seoul.
Exactly. The goal isn't necessarily to have a dramatic, globe-trotting life story. The goal is just to offer conversational hooks, give them something to grab onto.
That is a fantastic workaround. Okay, so we're moving right along our map. We have covered who you are, and we have covered where you started.
Step 1 and 2 are complete.
Right. Now, once you have established your origins, the other person naturally becomes curious about where you are right now.
Yes, your present life.
Which brings us to a concept that Mark and Sarah emphasize heavily, grounding the listener in your current physical space.
Grounding. This is a very cool psychological technique.
Tell us about grounding.
Grounding means helping the other person visualize exactly where you are standing in the world. Humans are very visual creatures.
We think in pictures.
We do.
Right.
And when we can picture the environment that someone else lives in, we automatically feel closer to them. It builds empathy.
Okay, before we dive into how to paint that picture with words, our source material points out a very specific grammar rule.
Oh, yes. The preposition rule.
It is a small detail, but getting it right really helps build confidence for a learner. The rule is all about the English word in.
Prepositions are notoriously difficult in English
They really are.
because they often do not translate directly from your native language. You might say at or on in your language, but English demands in.
So what is Mark and Sarah's clear instruction here?
They say that when you are talking about cities or the type of building you live in, you must use in. For example, I live in Tokyo.
I live in an apartment.
I live in a house.
It seems very basic. But I know a lot of learners who second guess themselves. They pause and wonder, wait, is it at a house? On an apartment?
It is a very common place to hesitate. The best advice from the text is to stop trying to translate the single word and just memorize the whole chunk of words together.
Memorize the chunk. I like that.
Don't just learn the vocabulary word apartment. Learn the entire phrase. Live in an apartment.
Say it together so your mouth gets used to it. I live in an apartment.
Exactly. It becomes automatic muscle memory.
Okay, so that handles the grammar, but let's go back to grounding. Just saying, I live in an apartment in Sydney is grammatically perfect, but it is visually empty.
Visually empty? Yes. It does not help the listener see anything in their mind.
And this is where Sarah's example from the text becomes incredibly valuable. She really transforms that boring, basic sentence.
She does. What does she say?
Well, instead of just stating she lives in an apartment, she adds some very specific details. She tells us that it is a modern apartment. It is on the 10th floor.
Okay, modern 10th floor.
It is in the center of Sydney. And then she adds this wonderful little detail. She has a small balcony where she keeps her plants.
Ah, the plants on the balcony. Let us analyze why those additions are so effective.
Let's do it.
By using just a few descriptive words, modern, 10th floor, center, small balcony, she is forcing our brains to construct an image.
It works. I can see it.
Right. You can suddenly see the height of the building. You can picture those green plants against a big city skyline. She took an abstract fact and turned it into a tangible reality.
It makes her memorable.
Highly memorable.
Think about it. If you meet 10 people at a party and they all say, I live in a house, you will forget every single one of them.
You will. They blend together.
But if one person says, I live in a noisy house with a tiny garden, you are going to remember the tiny garden.
You will remember them as the garden person. So how can our listeners find the right descriptive words for their own homes?
The lesson suggests asking yourself some very simple sensory questions.
Like what?
Ask yourself, is your home quiet? Is it noisy? Is it cozy? Sarah actually describes her home environment with two very specific words. She calls it sunny and busy.
Sunny and busy. I find that combination fascinating.
Me too. Why do those two words work so well together?
Because those two words convey an entire lifestyle. Sunny implies warmth, light, and positivity,
Right.
while busy implies energy, movement, maybe a little bit of chaos. Just from those two simple adjectives, you get a strong sense of who Sarah is as a person.
The words you choose actually reflect your personality.
Exactly. If you describe your home as a quiet retreat, it tells people you value peace. You are probably introverted.
And if you describe it as a busy hub, it tells people you are social and extroverted.
Yes. So for anyone listening right now, I want you to consider what one or two adjectives genuinely represent your space.
You don't need complex, difficult vocabulary.
Not at all. Simple English words like bright, dark, loud, peaceful, or crowded are highly effective at painting that picture.
Simple is often better. Okay, this is a perfect segue.
We're moving down the map.
We are. We know your name, we know where you are from, and we can visualize your home. The next stop on the map is arguably the most common question adults ask each other anywhere in the world.
Let me guess.
What do you do?
What do you do?
It is inevitable.
It is society's shorthand for asking how you spend the majority of your time.
Right. And for most people, this means talking about their profession or their studies.
The structural foundation that Mark and Sarah provide for this is very straightforward. You just use the phrase, I am an S, followed by your profession.
I am a doctor.
I am a student.
I am a graphic designer.
Exactly. That structure is necessary to learn. And this is a big but. The reality of life is rarely that simple.
Life is messy.
It is.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are not currently employed.
Yes.
And this can be a highly sensitive topic to talk about, especially in a second language. Trying to explain that you do not have a job can feel embarrassing. It can feel awkward.
This is a crucial point. I'm so glad Sarah addresses this in the lesson. She actually asks Mark how a person should navigate joblessness professionally.
It is a delicate situation.
It is. How do you answer what do you do when you aren't actually doing anything professionally at that exact moment?
Mark provides two highly strategic phrases for this exact moment.
Let's hear them.
The first one is, currently, I am looking for a job.
Okay.
And the second one is, I am between jobs at the moment.
Let's look closely at those phrases because the sociology behind them is really fascinating.
It is all about framing.
Why are these specific English phrases so valuable for a learner? Why not just say, I am unemployed?
It comes down to how your vocabulary choices frame people's perception of you. When you say, I am unemployed, or I don't have a job, the phrasing is passive.
It sounds a bit sad.
It does. It sounds like a permanent negative state. And honestly, it can make your conversational partner feel uncomfortable.
Because they don't know what to say next. Do they say, I'm sorry, that feels weird?
Exactly. They don't know how to respond to a negative statement. However, when you say, currently, I am looking for a job, you are projecting active energy.
Active energy? You are doing something about it.
Yes. You are telling them that you have a goal and you are actively working toward it.
It changes the whole tone of the conversation from despair to ambition.
It really does.
And what about that second phrase, the idiom between jobs? I think that is a brilliant piece of language. What does that convey to a native English speaker?
Between jobs is a very polite, optimistic idiom. It implies that your career is a continuous journey.
A journey.
Yes. You have left one destination and you are simply in transit to the next one. You are just on the road between two stops.
It normalizes the situation.
Completely. It protects your professional dignity while still answering the question honestly. It really shows how choosing the right words does not just change the grammar of your sentence. It changes how people perceive your confidence.
I think that is incredibly empowering for any of our listeners who might be in a transitional phase right now.
Absolutely. You control the narrative.
Now, what if you do have a job? Or what if you are a full-time student? Mark and Sarah emphasize that just stating your job title is not enough.
Stating your title is just like the one-word answer for your hometown.
It stops the conversation.
Right. If you just say, I am an accountant, the other person will probably just nod and say, oh, nice. End of conversation.
So what is the fix?
To keep the map flowing, you need to tack into the power of the word why. You need to provide a reason, or maybe a duration.
The text gives us a wonderful example with Sarah here. She states her profession first. She is a graphic designer.
Right.
She creates art and visual materials for websites and businesses. But instead of stopping there, she shares a little story about why she chose this creative path.
And her story is highly relatable. She explains that she became a graphic designer because, as a child, she loved drawing so much that she used to draw on all the walls of her house.
which, as she notes, made her parents very unhappy at the time.
Oh, I'm sure they were furious.
But it is such a charming detail. By sharing that brief anecdote, she accomplishes something really important. She takes a standard corporate job title, graphic designer, and she injects it with humanity.
She is showing the passion behind the profession. This is a masterful conversational tactic.
It is.
Because when you tell a story about your childhood, it invites the other person to share a memory of their own. They might laugh and say, oh my gosh, my sister used to do the exact same thing.
She is creating those doorways again.
Exactly. Doorways everywhere.
But let me push back on this a little bit.
Okay, push back.
Sarah has a very creative job, right? It connects directly to a fun childhood story.
True.
What if a listener has a job they don't particularly love? Or a job that just isn't naturally exciting? Let's say someone works in data entry and they are just doing it to pay their bills.
That is a very realistic scenario for a lot of people.
How do they answer, what do you do? Without sounding miserable, but also without inventing some fake passion for spreadsheets?
That is a great question. If you do not have a deep, passionate why for your current job, you can pivot.
Pivot to what?
You can pivot to duration. Or you can pivot to what the job allows you to do outside of work.
Give me an example of the duration pivot.
The source material mentions adding how long you have been there. You just say, I've been working in data entry for 5 years. It shows stability and loyalty.
Simple and professional. What about the other pivot?
You frame it around a broader life goal. You might say, I work in administration right now, which is great because it gives me the stability to focus on my family.
Oh, I love that.
You are still giving a why, but the why is your family, not the paperwork.
That is a brilliant pivot. It is honest, it is relatable, and it remains positive. The source material also applies this why rule to students, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. You shouldn't just say, I am a student. You should attach your motivation.
Like the example in the text, I am studying English to travel the world.
I am studying English to travel the world. That is a powerful sentence.
It really shifts the focus, doesn't it?
It shifts the focus completely away from the daily grind of studying grammar rules. Instead, it focuses on the exciting future goal.
Right.
When you tell someone your dreams, you give them a reason to root for you. They become invested in your success. They will want to ask you where you plan to travel first.
So whether you are between jobs, working a job you love, working a job to pay the bills, or studying for the future, the strategy is exactly the same.
Give the other person context.
Give them the why or the how long. Okay, we are really building a comprehensive map here.
We are covering a lot of ground.
We have covered the outer layers of a person's life. We have the name, the origins, the living situation, and the career. That naturally brings us deeper into what Mark and Sarah call the inner circle.
The inner circle. This is where things get personal.
Yes, the inner circle represents the people and the creatures who are closest to you.
In a personal introduction, discussing your family and your pets is a way of signaling what you value in your private life.
Let's start with family dynamics. The source text presents two vastly different examples of family life. It really shows how varied this part of the introduction can be.
We have Sarah's very small family, and we have Mark's very large family.
Let's look at Sarah first. Her example highlights a very common family structure.
Yes, her family consists of herself, her sister Lucy, and their parents. Because her family is small, she doesn't focus on numbers. She focuses on the quality of their relationship.
She uses a very specific English idiom for this. She says, we are very close.
We are very close. This is an important idiom to examine.
Let's break it down because if you translate it literally, it can be confusing. In English, what does it mean to be close to someone in a family context?
Right, because physically, the word close means near in distance. You might say the supermarket is close to your house.
But she doesn't mean they live in the same house.
No. When applied to human relationships, we are very close. It means there's a strong emotional bond. It means you trust each other, you share your lives, and you rely on one another.
It is emotional distance, not physical distance.
Exactly. Sarah illustrates this emotional closeness by adding a practical detail. She says that she and her sister talk on the phone every single day.
That is a warm, loving description. Now, let's contrast that with Mark's family. His dynamics are entirely different.
Completely different. Mark comes from a massive, highly energetic family.
He mentions having 3 brothers. And he doesn't just give their ages, which is what most people do, he gives their roles.
Right. He says one is a mechanic, one is an athlete, and one is a student.
And then he adds a detail that completely changes the visual image of his childhood. He says his house was never quiet because he and his brothers used to play soccer in the hallway.
I love that detail. That is a perfect example of what we call conversational flavor.
Conversational flavor.
Yes. Think about how culturally varied the concept of family is around the world. In some cultures, family means dozens of extended relatives living on the same street. In others, it is just parents and one child. When Mark says they played soccer in the hallway, you instantly understand the chaotic, loud, and fun environment he grew up in.
You can practically hear the noise. You can see the scuff marks on the walls from the soccer ball.
It is a vivid picture. So the takeaway for the listener here is this. When you mention your family, try to provide one adjective.
Like small, large, quiet, or noisy.
Yes. And then add perhaps one tiny detail that captures the actual feeling of your home life.
A detail like talking on the phone every day or playing sports inside the house.
Exactly.
But of course, family doesn't just mean humans. For a vast number of people all over the world, pets are central family members.
Oh, absolutely. Including pets in an introduction is a highly effective social strategy.
Why is it such a good strategy?
Because animals are universally relatable. Talking about a pet naturally brings a smile to people's faces. It lowers their guard.
It really does. People love talking about their pets. In the lesson, both Mark and Sarah introduced their pets using excellent descriptive language. Let's look at Sarah's pet first.
Sarah has a bird, a parrot named Kiwi.
And the descriptive words she uses are fantastic. She says Kiwi is small, bright green, and very loud in the morning.
Notice how those adjectives appeal to different senses. Small and bright green are visual adjectives.
You see them.
But loud is an auditory adjective. You hear it. Together, they create a complete three-dimensional picture of this bird waking her up every day.
Now, Mark's pet is completely different. He has a dog, a golden retriever named Barnaby.
Good old Barnaby.
Yes, Barnaby is 10 years old. Mark describes him as a bit slow because of his age, but he adds that Barnaby is the friendliest dog in the world.
Again, the contrast here is very useful. We have a loud, energetic bird on one side and a slow, friendly, older dog on the other.
Right.
By describing the animal's personality, you are actually indirectly sharing something about your own life. You are showing that you are a caregiver. You have empathy.
It adds so much warmth to the introduction, but I want to pause here. We really need to address listeners who might not have pets.
That is a lot of people.
It happens all the time in social situations. Someone asks, "Oh, do you have any pets?" And if you just say no,
The conversation hits a wall.
exactly, it dies right there. How does the source text suggest handling this without shutting down the interaction?
The lesson provides a highly useful alternative sentence structure. If you do not own an animal, you can say, I don't have any pets, but I would like to have a dog one day.
I don't have any pets, but I would like.
Yes. Or, I don't have any pets, but I love cats.
That is a clever pivot. You are acknowledging their question honestly with the negative answer, but you immediately follow it with a positive statement about your interests.
Exactly. Stating a future desire is a great way to bond with someone. It keeps the conversation moving forward.
Because then the other person can ask a follow-up question.
Right. They can ask, oh, what kind of dog do you want? You have successfully maintained the flow of the map, even without having the specific thing they asked about.
We are navigating this map beautifully. We have moved from the outer facts of your life, your job, and hometown to the inner circle of your family and pets. Now, we arrive at the absolute core.
The center of the map.
The text refers to this section as the real you. This section focuses on your hobbies, your likes, and quite surprisingly, your dislikes.
This is where you reveal your true personality.
Yes.
Think about it. When you talk about your work, you are mostly discussing obligations, things you have to do.
Right.
But when you talk about your hobbies, you are discussing your passions. You are showing people what brings you joy.
Let's examine how Sarah and Mark talk about their passions. Sarah discusses photography, but true to form, she doesn't just say, I like taking pictures.
No, that would be too basic.
She provides 3 specific details that elevate the description. First, she mentions using a real camera, not just a smartphone.
Okay, that shows she is serious about it.
Second, she talks about going to the park or the beach to photograph the sunset.
A beautiful image.
And third, and I think this is the most important one, she reveals that looking through the camera helps her forget about her stress.
That third detail is the psychological hook.
The hook. Explain that.
She is not just explaining the physical mechanics of her hobby. She isn't talking about camera lenses or shutter speeds. She is explaining the emotional benefit.
How it makes her feel.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you tell someone how an activity makes you feel, whether it relieves your stress or brings you excitement or helps you focus, you are inviting them to understand your internal world.
It makes you so much more relatable. Mark's hobby operates on a very similar level, but he relies heavily on sensory details.
Mark loves cooking.
He does.
Yeah.
He talks about the smell of fresh garlic and basil. He mentions the physical effort of spending hours making pasta dough by hand.
Handmade pasta. That takes dedication.
And he adds that while he cooks, he enjoys watching old black and white movies.
Mark's description is incredibly rich. By sharing these specific habits, he is demonstrating his patience. He is showing his appreciation for tradition.
Think about how much more impactful that is compared to just saying, I like food.
I like food. Tells me nothing. Everyone likes food. But I spend hours making pasta while watching classic movies. Tells me exactly who you are.
To help our listeners express their own passions, the text offers 2 alternative phrases to the standard I like. Relying constantly on I like can sound very repetitive for a language learner.
It sounds a bit like a textbook.
It does. So instead you can say I'm interested in, or I'm a fan of.
I'm interested in history, or I'm a big fan of rock music.
Those sound so much more natural.
They do. They sound fluent and slightly more mature than just repeating I like.
Now here is the part of the lesson that I find truly fascinating. We expect to share our likes in an introduction, but Mark and Sarah emphasize the surprising power of sharing your dislikes.
Yes, this often feels very counterintuitive to language learners.
It feels risky. When you are trying to make a good impression on someone new, you naturally want to seem positive and agreeable. Why on earth would you share something negative?
It does feel a bit dangerous. But the source provides some great examples of how to do it right. Like, I love spicy food, but I hate cold weather.
Or, I love the rain, but I hate noisy traffic. Before we analyze why this works psychologically, let's look at the specific phrase the text teaches for expressing a strong dislike.
Right. Instead of using the word hate, which can sometimes sound a little too aggressive in English.
Too intense.
Exactly. The lesson suggests the phrase, I can't stand.
I can't stand.
For example, I can't stand noisy traffic. It simply means the situation bothers you deeply or makes you highly uncomfortable.
I can't stand. It is a very natural idiom. I use it all the time. So let's get into the psychology here. Why does sharing a dislike actually help you build a relationship with a total stranger?
It comes down to authenticity and shared friction.
Shared friction.
Yes. If you only ever say positive things, you can appear slightly artificial, like a robot. Sharing a mild, harmless dislike makes you human. It shows authenticity.
That makes sense. Nobody is happy all the time.
Right. Furthermore, sociologically, human beings bond very quickly over shared grievances.
We love to complain together.
We really do. If you say, I can't stand the cold weather, there is a very high probability the other person will agree and say, me neither, I can't wait for summer.
You have just established a common enemy, the weather.
Exactly. Agreeing on a common enemy creates a really fast sense of unity between two people.
It is the common enemy bonding theory. That is brilliant, but I imagine there are rules to this. You probably shouldn't share a deeply controversial dislike in your very first introduction, right?
Oh, definitely not. Stay away from politics, religion, or deeply personal issues.
Keep it light.
The key is to keep the dislike mild and universally relatable. Complaining about the weather or traffic or a certain type of food, like saying you can't stand mushrooms, that is safe.
It invites agreement without causing any actual offense. It is a very clever, subtle way to build a bridge between yourself and the listener.
It really is.
So we have explored every single stop on the map.
We have the whole path laid out.
Your name, your origin, your home, your occupation, your family, your hobbies, and even your mild dislikes. But if you just list these facts one after another,
Says robotic.
it sounds like an interrogation. The real mastery is in the execution.
This brings us to the final stage of the lesson, the master introduction.
Putting it all together.
This is where you weave those separate data points into a flowing narrative. A good story has momentum. It moves smoothly from one idea to the next.
Let's analyze how Mark and Sarah accomplish this. I'm going to read Mark's final combined introduction straight from the source text.
Listeners, pay close attention to this.
Yes, I want you to pay attention to how he connects the different parts of his life. Here's Mark's story.
Hi there. My name is Mark, but you can call me Marcus if you like. I'm originally from a small village, but now I live in a cozy house in Brighton. I've been an English teacher for over 10 years because I love helping people communicate. I have a big, noisy family and a very old dog named Barnaby. When I'm not teaching, you'll find me in the kitchen making pasta or watching a classic black and white movie. I'm really happy to be here. That is a remarkably effective introduction.
It really flows, doesn't it?
It does. And if we break down his transitions, we see the craftsmanship. He uses the phrase, "When I'm not teaching, you'll find me," to pivot smoothly from his professional life to his personal hobbies.
That is a great transition. When I'm not teaching, you'll find me.
He is not just lifting facts. He is literally guiding the listener through the different rooms of his life.
And the mental picture is so clear. The village origins, the cozy house in Brighton, the 10 years of teaching, the noisy family, old Barnaby the dog, and the handmade pasta. In just a few short sentences, he goes from being a complete stranger to being a three-dimensional person you feel like you actually know.
Let us contrast that with Sarah's master introduction. Notice how she uses different connective tissue to link her facts together.
Okay, here is Sarah's combined introduction.
Hello, I'm Sarah. I'm from Australia and I live in a sunny apartment in Sydney. I work as a graphic designer, which is great because I love being creative every day. I have one younger sister and a very funny parrot named Kiwi. In my free time, I'm a huge fan of photography and hiking. I love being in nature, but I really dislike the cold. It's so nice to meet all of you.
Again, we see a complete, authentic person.
It is so well.
Look at her transitions. She connects her job to her internal feelings using the phrase, which is great because...
Which is great because I love being creative.
Right. She introduces her hobbies with the transition, in my free time. Another excellent phrase to memorize, in my free time.
She effectively combines the sunny apartment, the creative design work, her sister Lucy, Kiwi the parrot, hiking, and her shared grievance about the cold weather.
It is completely seamless. And that brings us to the most practical part of our deep dive today. What does all of this theory mean for you, the listener?
It means it is time to put it into practice.
Exactly. The source lesson includes a homework assignment, and we are officially passing that homework on to you.
Don't worry, we won't grade it.
No grades. But the assignment is clear. We want you to draft your own story using 5 or 6 sentences, following the map we have built today.
Start by introducing your name. Use the nickname trick if it applies to you.
Give your origin story using originally from X but live in Y.
Describe your home using a sensory adjective. Is it loud, quiet, bright?
Explain your work or your studies and make sure to add a Y or a duration.
Mention your family dynamic or a pet.
And finally, share a hobby or maybe a mild dislike to create that common enemy.
As you write this down, remember Sarah's most important piece of advice from the text. Perfection is not the goal.
Connection is the goal.
Exactly. Do not paralyze yourself worrying about flawless grammar. The purpose of this map is simply to help another human being understand who you are.
Write it down. Practice saying it out loud in front of a mirror. Let the structure give you confidence.
We have covered an immense amount of ground today. We dove deep into the psychology, the structure, and the vocabulary of introducing yourself.
Learning a language is a complex journey. It takes immense courage to put yourself out there and speak to strangers.
It really does take courage, and I think it is important to reiterate Sarah's closing thought from the lesson. She says, learning English takes time, and you are doing the work.
You are doing the work right now just by listening to this.
The very fact that you are engaging with this material means you are moving forward. Consistency is what builds fluency.
It is. Now, we always like to leave you with a final thought to mull over after the audio ends. Something that stretches a bit beyond the specific grammar lesson.
Consider this perspective. When you construct this 5 or 6 sentence introduction, you're engaging in an act of profound creativity.
How so?
Well, you have thousands of memories, experiences, and facts stored in your brain. You are a complicated human. But when you introduce yourself, you act as the director of your own story.
The director, like in a movie.
Yes.
Yes.
You decide where to point the camera. You choose exactly which version of yourself to reveal first.
That is a very powerful way to look at it. You are in control.
You are. So as you build your map today, ask yourself, which unique details of your complex, fascinating life will you choose to put in the spotlight?
What a compelling thought to end on. Thank you so much for joining us on this exploration of how to share your story. Keep practicing, keep connecting with others, and we look forward to diving deep with you again next time.